Okay, welcome back. Gromzy here again with another World of Warcraft Legion Alpha testing. We are today looking at the Warrior Fury Titan's Grip. Um, Again, Warrior is so close to my heart. I've been playing Warrior since vanilla, and I have loved it every second. There is nothing I dislike about Warriors. They are just so beautiful, especially Titan's Grip. Okay, so let's get started, shall we? Talents wise, level 15, we start off with War Machine. Now, this is a really fantastic talent. This talent is so good, especially for PvP. It's absolutely awesome. It's even for leveling, it's fantastic for killing mobs. Like killing a target grants you 30% haste and 30% movement speed for 10 seconds. It is fantastic. You know when you're out in the world and you just charge a mob, get a bit of damage on it, and then all of a sudden it's execute range and you go BAM! And the bitch goes down. And then you get that 30% haste and 30% movement speed for 10 seconds. It's phenomenal. It really does help with like going like mob to mob on a daily basis. Really fantastic. And I can see it working quite strong in PvP as well. I can see a lot of people going for that. Definitely with like mobility for warriors, it's always a good thing to have an extra bit of speed boost. Moving on, we've got Endless Rage. Endless Rage, your auto attacks generate 30% additional rage. Now the reason why I've gone for this is just due to the fact that with this character, obviously, I was mainly using it for testing on dungeons and things and instances and that, and just getting practice in and seeing the rotation for the Fury Warrior. So that's the reason why I went for this. I just wanted that extra bit of rage to be able to not worry about my abilities at all. Again, it's a very strong ability. I suppose if you're ever having trouble with rage generation, this could be really handy for you. I don't think that like higher end warrior players would really be having that much trouble, but you never know. It could be like just something that is mandatory for most warriors. But let's move on, shall we? Fresh meat, Bloodthirster, 30% chance, 30% increased critical strike chance against targets above 80%. Now, I personally do not like these talents on any class of any spec. Anything where you get like a bit of increased crit on a target above 80%. I just don't like it. It's just... especially with this one, like Bloodthirst has a 30% increased critical strike chance. Like, what's the point in having that and having that? Like, I just don't get it. It's just like, oh god. I mean, I'm sure like some people have done the math and it might work out stronger for some people, but I don't know. I just ignore it. I don't like it. Let's move on to 31, shall we? Now, 31's, again, this is very, very similar to Live, really. I mean, you've got your generic Shockwave, which is really good for questing, especially for myself, for example, because I like to charge in, grab as many mobs as I can, do a couple of whirlwinds, throw off your main weapon, maybe throw a blaze storm in there, and at the end of it, if I'm gonna try and do that, what I want to try and do at the same time is shockwave them all so they can't hit me back. So I get a little bit of CC on them and then burst them down so quickly that like they're dead before they come out of the shockwave. Next up is obviously Stormbowl. Again, really good for single target. They have changed it, however. I believe on live at the moment it is if you use Stormbolt against a target that is permanently immune to stuns, it deals 400% increased weapon damage, I want to say. I could be wrong, but I think that is correct. As you can see there, they have changed it so that it only deals 15,000 damage without a damage multiplier on it if the target is permanently immune to stuns. So they have slightly changed it. Again, this is probably like more of a really strong arena talent, really, for if you're going up against a caster group or a caster melee group or healer melee group. It's definitely going to be a strong one for arena, as most warriors out there know. You know, you switch between the two depending on the setup that you go up against. The other one is double time. Again, exactly the same as it is on live, really. You get an extra charge on your charge, funny enough, and it reduces its cooldown by 3 seconds. So I believe that's pretty much identical to how it is on live. I don't know about the reduced its cooldown by 3 seconds, that might be new, but either way, it's basically the same sort of thing, really, you know. Moving on to the 45 talents. Now this is an interesting one. This is a really interesting one. Your auto attacks have a chance to make your next whirlwind cost no rage and deal 200% more damage. Now this is interesting because now that's what it does with the multiplayer up, I believe. Let me try it on a lower level one. So yeah, it does like what, about 5 attacks, give or take. So it does about 2,000 to 5,000 to 20,000 damage. So it's not that bad, but let's wait until we get the proc. Come on, yeah, there we go. Okay, so there you see that the 2,000 turns to 5,000, 5,000 turns to about 7,000, and so on and so forth. It all goes up by about 2 to 3,000 each. And again, it just makes it free. It's just an extra bit of damage output. It's good, especially for those AoE situations which we all get in dungeons. You all get it. And again, for my playstyle for leveling, it's fantastic. I love grabbing bunches of mobs, dropping down a shockwave, whipping out a whirlwind, popping the new form of recklessness, and then throwing in a blade storm. It's a great way of playing the character. So that is a really good talent, I think, for my sort of playstyle. I love it. I really do. Outburst. Berserker Rage now causes Enrage. Now this is pretty interesting, this is pretty cool, because they have, I believe, changed the way that Enrage works. So Enrage now is Bloodthirst critical strikes will enrage you, increasing your attack speed by 100%, but you also take 20% more damage. So this is quite an interesting ability. So basically doing this means that whenever you press your Berserker Rage now, is that it will automatically cause this to happen, which is really quite strong, I think. I mean, what is it? It's a 1 minute cooldown now, so again, like versus the Wrecking Ball, it's a difficult one, but it is pretty strong. I believe that there is a talent later on which can reduce the amount of damage that you do take from Enrage, I believe, somewhere. But again, this is just like a really good talent, I suppose. Maybe not so much if you do spec for, I believe it's this one, yeah, in a rage, because it just removes the fact that you need to be enraged to get Raging Blow. So this could become pointless if you spec for Inner Rage, but I suppose if you were to spec for something else, this could be quite useful, because you'll be able to get your Raging Blows off more often with that, I suppose. Moving on, it's the Avatar. Avatar's back. It's always going to be there, let's be honest. Again, you just transform into a Colossus for 20 seconds, causing you to deal 20% increased damage and removing all roots and snares. Now, this is quite interesting because I believe they put it on a lower tier. I believe on live it's around here sort of thing, around the 90-75 marker. And it's on the same tier as Blade Storm, I think. So it's quite interesting that they have dropped it in a lower tier for people leveling up. That's quite cool. On a 1.5 minute cooldown. Again, it's just a really good solid damage bonus. A lot of people probably pick that. To be honest with you, it'll probably be a toss up in raid situations. Like if it's an AoE fight, it'll be Wrecking Ball probably, and then on a single target fight, most raiders will probably go for the Avatar just because it will be more raw single target damage. Okay, let's move on to 60, shall we? Furious Charge also increases the healing from your next Bloodthirst by 300%. Now this is just weird. Like, whatever, just, you can keep it. I don't really see the point. Like, the healing output of, like there, restoring 5% of your health. The healing output, as well as you get Enraged Regeneration, which is only on a 2 minute cooldown, it's short as hell. Like, I don't get it. Oh god, whatever. Blizzard, enjoy, have fun. Let's move on. Again, Bounding Strikes, just a fantastic mobility glyph. Well, now it's a talent. I believe it was a glyph originally. Yeah, just reduces the cooldown by Heroic Leap by 15 seconds, and you just move 70% faster for 3 seconds after. Just a fantastic mobility glyph if you ever have problems with that in raids, or you need it on a certain boss or whatever. Next up is Warpaint. Yeah, here we go, this is it. You now only take 20% increased damage from Enrage. So yeah, it does, well, quite interesting. Yeah, because it says, and damage you take by 20%, so it doesn't really, you now only take 20% increased damage from Enrage, but you only take 20% already, so, well, that's interesting. Maybe it's a tooltip bug or something. But, yes, so that's the one that I've gone for. I suppose you could probably go for any ones that you wanted, really. So that's my alarm. Move on to 75, shall we? Massacre. Execute critical strikes, cause your next rampage to cost no rage. This is pretty cool. Again, this probably would only like be beneficial to people for like boss fights where like they've got, let's say for example, the second to last boss in High Mall, that had that protective shield on it, which you could actually technically execute when it got low because it counted as a second health bar, even though the boss was at like 100% health. That could be pretty cool if there was a fight like that happening, because there would be a high percent chance of you getting more executes off because you'd be able to use it more often. So that could be pretty cool for a fight like that. I suppose out in the world, maybe if you can get from one mob to another pretty quickly, that'd be quite cool. It could be rather useful. I mean, it totally depends on your playstyle, I suppose. Like, I don't really execute a huge amount simply because I just spin to win, really. So, not so good for me. But most people, that'd be good for. I know that a lot of people like to execute spam and stuff. Next one, Bear the Berserker. When you reach 100 rage, your damage is increased by 10% and your movement speed by 30% for 6 seconds. This is an interesting one because, like, again, like, pooling rage has never really been a great thing for warriors, I don't think. I suppose that there have been a few occasions where you pool your rage and you blow it on your slams or whatever it was back in the day. But well, I suppose what most warriors would probably do is, if they were to spec for it, I don't know why they would, but if they were to spec for it, they would just pool the 100 rage, get the buff, and then just blow their cooldowns. And then just take that extra 10%. I suppose it could work really well with Avatar, because you could probably stack the two together. So that could be a pretty cool little combination. It'd be like a nice little 30% damage increase that you could get for like your Rampage or your Raging Blows. And then next up, of course, everybody's favourite, the Blade Storm. It is a beautiful little ability, it really is. The damage has actually been ramped up quite a lot on this. I've been testing out arms recently. See, I've got the weapon there. And the Blade Storm with arms, if you pop your new form of Recklessness battle cry, it is seriously, it's a lot of damage. For Fury, again, like, it's not as much damage in numbers wise, but it'll probably equate to the same sort of thing when you count main hand and offhand. Meat Grinder. Now this is a really cool ability, I think. A whirlwind causes your next rampage to strike up to 4 additional targets for 50% damage. This is really sweet. It works really well with Wrecking Ball, and it just works really well with a lot of like AoE playstyle fights, because again, it's just going to be more damage that you're going to get on your AoE. And to think that that's going to be working with Rampage, which is enrages you and unleashes a series of 5 brutal strikes over 2 seconds for a total of 62,000 physical damage. Now keep in mind, I'm only level 101, okay, 101, so that's pretty fucking high. And you're going to be able to do that on 4 additional targets. So 5 targets in total getting grinded to shit by your Rampage. So that's pretty sweet. I do like that. It's pretty awesome. Next up is Frenzy. Furious Slash increases your haste by 5% for 10 seconds, stacking up to 3 times. I used this for a little bit. I liked the haste bonus. I liked the 15% haste on your Frenzy. Your Furious Slash, yeah. It's good. Like, I did use it quite a lot because I like to be able to stack up the crit bonus as well, and getting that haste out of it at the same time. It was just a nice little bonus, you know. It was just a little something, like a little cherry on top. It was just a nice little thing. But then, like, after a while, like, I decided that it just wasn't worth having, because there's so many buttons on these down here that you press so often, especially with the Wrecking Ball, with the next talent, which I'll get onto in a second. There was just so many buttons to press, just having to spam that. I was finding myself like having to like waste like maybe a second or two where I couldn't press Raging Blow because of a global cooldown. So I just thought, let's just switch that out and just move on to the next one, which was this one, which was Raging Blow no longer requires Enrage and deals 100% increased damage, but has a 4.5 second cooldown. Now this is, in my opinion, flipping awesome. So basically you'll charge in, and where normally you'd have to get a crit like that on your Bloodthirster to get the Enrage, now you don't. Look, no Enrage, no, nothing. But I can still go BAM! And as you can see there, it hit for 41,000 on main hand and 41,000 crit offhand. Let's do it again. There you go. Same again. It is fantastic. And a 4.5 second cooldown is nothing. It is absolutely nothing. So I think that that is fantastic. I really do. Actually, now that I look at it, to be honest with you, I don't think that that is too much of a bad idea, having that increased damage one there. Because, I mean, I do pull rage pretty quickly. So there we go. We learnt something new, all of us together. Well, isn't that fantastic? But yeah, I do love that talent in a rage. It is absolutely bloody awesome. Like, 4.5 second cooldown, it's not much. Like, I mean, okay, you could complain that, like, there's a possibility that you get, like, 4 or 5 crits in a row, which means that you can do 4 or 5 of those in a row. But you could also get a really unlucky streak and not get any of them for about 30 seconds. So, at the end of the day, it probably will work out in your advantage. I mean, we all know that the RNG gods are a bitch. So let's move on to the 100 talents. Now, I was a little bit pissed off at this. I'm not going to lie to you. Like, in my personal opinion, I think that level 100 talent should be something amazeballs. Something that's really going to stand out. Like a new ability that's just going to do some freaking insane damage or something, you know? Like, it's like level 100, for God's sake. You should get something sweet. But what do we get as warriors? Reduce the cost of rampage by 20 rage. Yeah. Okay, it now only costs 65 rage, but yeah. Sweet. Next one is Battle Cry generates 100 rage. Yeah. Sweet. And then, of course, we've got Dragon's Roar, which... sweet. Total biscuit sweet, honestly. I was just a little bit upset with these three. I really was. Like, these three could be clearly put on, like, a lower talent tree part. I definitely think that this could be lowered down. It's pretty naff, in my opinion. But some people might disagree with me. I know that a lot of people will be like, oh no, they're fantastic, what are you talking about? Leave them in, blah blah blah. But I just think that a level 100 talent should be something stronger, I believe. But I mean, hey, if you agree, if you disagree, put in the comments below, and I'll also get back to you whenever. So yeah, it's just, I don't know, I just, didn't like it. I was a bit unimpressed. But anyway, let's move on to the artifact weapon. So here we have the War Swords of the Valjar. I believe I'm saying that correctly. If not, I do not care. So we start off with Odin's Fury. Unleash the firepower of Odin bestows the War Swords, dealing 63,792 fire damage and an additional 7,600 fire damage over 4 seconds to all enemies within 20 yards. Now this is quite interesting. I quite like this. They've kind of like moved off of like the physical damage of a warrior and moved into more of like magical damage, because there's a few abilities that deal like magical damage with warriors. So it's quite interesting how they've done that. I believe with the arms warrior as well, that you start, there's a couple of abilities that actually deal magic damage. I think it's the weapon, the actual weapon itself. I believe that this deals magical damage, is it? Yeah, shadow damage and applying colossal smash to all targets. So it's quite interesting that they've decided to go in that sort of route, that like we start doing a bit of magical damage with our attacks now. So that's pretty sweet. I do like that. I do think that's pretty sweet. Next up we've got Rage of the Valajar. Oh, there we go. I think I got it right that time. Rampage and Execute have a chance to activate Berserking, increasing your attack speed and critical strike chance by 5% every 1 second for 12 seconds. This is pretty sweet. This is a pretty strong talent. Like, I would like to try and go for this first for the weapon. I think it would be possibly one of the the stronger ones that you can go for. Just because that extra bit of crit is just gonna fucking rock socks. Let's be honest. You're just gonna be like shredding numbers out the door. It is gonna be pretty beautiful. Next up we have got Odin's Champion. When you use Rampage, Odin has a chance to declare you the champion of the Valajar for 10 seconds, causing all your offensive abilities to reduce the cooldown of all of your abilities by 3 seconds. Now, this is pretty sweet. This is like, again, it's basically like what, I I can't remember the name of it now. I believe it was a level 100 talent at the moment on live. Anger management, I think it is, which is like every 10 rage that you use, you reduce it by 1 second. Well, this is just like a similar sort of effect, I believe, but like just slightly, ever so slightly different because of the fact that it's now whenever you use rampage and it's 3 seconds instead of 1 second. It's meh. It's pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie, I like it. I mean, okay, they've taken it away from the talents so that you can't talent for it, but I like the fact that they've thought about Fury Warriors and thought, well, we're not gonna fuck you over too much, so let's just put that back in there somewhere at least. And then last but not least, we have Juggernaut. Execute increases damage dealt by execute by 5% for 15 seconds, stacking up to 99 times. Holy shitballs! Holy shitballs! Yeah, I think that that's a pretty decent talent. I'm pretty sure a lot of people will agree with me. I think a lot of excited execute spamming warriors are going to be furiously masturbating to this talent, I believe is the words I'm looking for. It is just fucking insane, the damage output you're going to get with that bad boy, honestly. Like, I mean, look at that, 78,000 physical damage, like, already. I mean, Jesus Christ. And you look at the one before it. It increases the critical strike chance by 3% times 3. Oh my lord. 9% increased crit on the fucker. Ah, well. But anyway, that's a quick little look at the Fury Warrior at the moment. Again, this is all subject to change. It is only the alpha, but this is just a quick look at what the talents and the artifact weapon are like at the minute. Again, if there is any questions or anything like that, please put them in the comments below and I'll try and get back to you as soon as possible. I'm recording videos pretty much all day today and then uploading them over the course of the week, one at a time sort of thing, just to try and even out and make the workload a bit easier. But anyway, thank you very much for watching and I shall see you next time.